Hello, wonderful kindergarten teachers. I am going to go through the November calendar, or the number corner, since we're almost in November. So here are the notes that are in the drive. So I'm under Kinder, Bridges, number corner. So if you go to 2020, 2021, you have Unit 1, Unit 2, but this is in the number corner area. And I only have two things in it. Well, looks like one thing, but there is another one. It's just not updated yet, and it's called November. And that's what I'm in right here. So here is Bridges' thoughts on this year for number corner, and I would say from now on what to focus on. So out of the 5 components of number corner, there's 4 that you should focus on, right? 4. Oh man, in 5 minutes a day, right? Whatever you can do. So I'm going to go through, you can read through this on your own, but they are saying right here, calendar collector. It is fun and engaging, but skip it if time is short. And you guys definitely are short on time. So let's skip that thing. So let's go down to number corner for calendar grid. The calendar grid, what I did is took the patterns that are happening that they explain in the overview, and you can read through and see what all the patterns are, just to remind yourself of what they are. Bridges does suggest that you have these posters up and saying that a rectangle is similar to a cylinder, and then you have a circle similar to your cone. And because of time, and you guys low on time in number corner, maybe skip these posters of the alike and the different, and just have a discussion together every time that it happens. Every time you have a rectangle and then a cylinder next, just explain the differences, talk through the differences together, instead of having the posters. Up to you. But the things that would be important to have them see is not only seeing 2D versus 3D on the actual pictures for calendar grid, but to provide some examples that they can touch. So when you see a square, which is I think one of the first ones, it's the first thing, and then the first November 1st is a square, and then November 2nd is a cube, you'd then stop and say, okay, this piece of paper that you've made into a square is a square. It is 2D. It is flat. And with my 5th graders right now who need work on this, we're putting a 2 up in the air and going 2D shapes are flat. And we make that motion, flat. Whereas 3D shapes have, and then we touch our feet and go all the way to our head and say height. They have height. So here is our 2D, our piece of paper, and a polydron being a square that is flat. And now we can make this 2D shape into a 3D shape by putting some height into it. So then we take more squares in the polydrons and make a cube and show them how that's done, and show them that wooden cube and talk about similarities and differences. And if you want to write it on a poster paper, feel free. If you don't do it. Just talk through it together. Then as you start seeing circles and spheres in your calendar grid, you'd say, oh man, we just had a circle yesterday and now we have a sphere. Let's look at that. So now we take a piece of paper that's a circle that is 2D, it is flat. And now we're going to put some height into it to make it 3D. What does it become? It becomes a sphere. And then you can do it in Play-Doh, which you've already done, I think, this year, work with Play-Doh, but this is just you as the teacher, or you could have your kids do it too. They're forming a 3D shape with height, our sphere, our ball, and then we're going to make it 2D by flattening it and making a circle. Okay, so talking about the similarities and differences there. And then they do suggest taking your sphere once you've made it and say, oh, what do you think is going to happen if I cut it right through the middle? What do you think is going to happen? And then right here it says cut the sphere in half and hold up the halves for the students to see. And those are called hemispheres. Hemispheres. Half of a sphere. Then you have your rectangle. So you have your rectangle piece of paper that then we can make into a 3D shape by making a cylinder. So showing how that happens. experiment with it, you as the teacher. If you want to have the kids do it, up to you. But this is just you showing not just on the grid, but using actual things to show 2D versus 3D. Because sometimes what I've noticed when it's on a piece, when you have it just on the calendar grid or it's up on the screen, a 2D shape, kids think it's 3D because it's on the screen. But we have to literally see it with our hands and touch it and see that 2D is flat. That shape is actually flat. And what's cool is you can take your circle, make that little cut right there to the middle, and then you're able to form a cone. So a circle that forms a sphere, and then a circle that forms a cone. And then at the end of the month, showing the kids, going through the different patterns and looking at all the grid markers and saying, oh, the first marker was white, then it was blue, then it was white, then it was blue, then it was white. Okay, let's look at another pattern. The first one was 2D, then the next one was 3D, then it was 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D. Now, you wouldn't necessarily have to draw these out, but you could have them pre-made, and then you guys just talk through them and have these covered up as you go. And you're just showing, okay, the first one was 2D, it was flat, and then it was 3D, it became solid, and then it went to flat, and then it went to solid, and then it went to flat, and then it went to solid, and then you had a square, and then that's our last one here of all the shapes it went through. So all the different patterns. I did find a nice read aloud, but like you have time for that. But I should have put it in the Google slide deck for the unit, but I didn't. All right, then we have days in school. And this is like, oh, you know what you're doing here. This is just a refresher to say what Bridges is advising as you go through it. For example, here's all the stuff you have up. You have the 10 frames, you have the links, and you have those dots you're filling up. And as you count it, you're going to point to the 10 frames, and the kids can be going like this, and every time you do a 10, they're going to circle it and say 10, 20, 30, 40, and then 41, 42, 43, 44. What was that? 44. Show it on your fingers. 4. How many more till 10? Let's use our fingers to figure it out because we have 10 fingers. 5, 6, 6 more. Let's check the 10 frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 more till another 10. And then you do it again with the links. So we go 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Show it on your fingers. How many more till 10, right? And then we can check it on that long strip to see that it's 5, 6 more till another 10. Okay, so that's just a refresher there. Then we have computational fluency. That's another focus that they say don't skip. So the main idea here, the one I like, is this game called Plunkett. And maybe play it like once a week, maybe on Fridays. I don't know. Like try to do this once a week, all month. You take a hidden amount of cubes. So you have some cubes that you don't let the kids see. And then they just have to use their ears, their 1 sense to listen to how many cubes you drop into your cup. And then they have to show on their fingers how many they think they heard. Then you're going to dump those cubes out for them to literally see it, and you're going to count it together. And then you're going to say, okay, well, how many more until I would hit 5? How many more would I need to plunk in there? So they show their 3, and they're like, oh, 2 more. Let's put that up on our other hand. 2 more. All together, is that 5? 3, 4, 5. Yes. Okay, and you could even ask them how many more till 10 if you want it. A variation would be when you plunk it, you'd say, I want you to really listen hard. And on your fingers, I don't want you to show me how many you heard I plunked. I want you to show me 1 more than I actually plunked in the cup. Okay, that sounds weird when I say it. All right, or 1 less than they heard. See what they can do with that. Maybe you really like Plunkett. Maybe you can do it more than 1 time a week. Then the last thing is number line. Here is the new number line pockets starting at 6, keeping those tens numbers in red until you introduce it again and say, what's behind here? It's our tens number, which is our family of teens. And then we have our family of 20s. okay? And then you show them 21 through 25. And then the last thing here, count forward and backward. Try to count forward and backward within those numbers on a daily basis if you can. And then work on before and after this little activity down here once a week if possible. So here on your number line pocket, you would just uncover a sampling of numbers, maybe just like 2 numbers, okay? They, of course, have 6 numbers because they think you have like hours to do math. So you just hold 2 or 3 numbers. And then you could take out your butterfly numbers, or you could just write these numbers on the whiteboard. You would write out whatever numbers come before or after the numbers you have shown. So if this is what I had shown, I'd ask the kids, okay, I would point to like the number 6 and say, what is this number? 6. Okay, it is 6. I want to know which number comes before 6. Look at my numbers I have up on the whiteboard, whether you write them or whether you use your butterfly numbers. One of these numbers comes before 6. What are you thinking it is? I want you all to stare at it so hard that it's going to light on fire. Yeah? And then you have a kid go up and touch it, and this is what I like to do. They put their finger on what they think it is, and if it really is burning on fire, you make the sound effect. Oh man, you just got burned. Yeah, because that is the number that comes before 6. All right, and then it has you skipping calendar collector. There's one other thing that I now remembered that I forgot. And in your notes, this is the actual Bridges notes as I scrolled through, there is a game called Playing Hop High, Count Low. And they say, consider playing Hop High, Count Low after coming in from recess as you transition from one lesson to the next, or when you just have a few minutes left in a period, because of course you're always trying to fit in more, right? So this game has you just practicing starting at a number, bigger number, and then counting down all the way to the floor to the stop number. So if you say, we're going to practice counting from 10 to 1. So I want you to hop really high on 10. So I'm going to go 10 and then go lower and lower and lower. And I don't want you to say 1 until we hit the ground. So make sure you're going slow and you're really evening yourself out, right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way to 1. And then we're on the floor on 1. And then you can vary what you start and you stop at by using your number line pocket chart. So I would say, okay, I want someone today to go and pick 2 numbers on my blue pocket chart, and they can't be right next to each other. So let's say they go and they pick 17 and 15. Oh man, you're like, oh, those are really close together, but who cares? They're going to have their hands really up high and they're going to start at 17 and we're going to count down to 15. Is it going to take really long? Let's see, 17, 16, 15, and we're on the floor. We're already touching the floor. Wow, that was quick. Okay, so you can use your number line pocket chart to get kids involved by picking 2 numbers that we're going to start and count backwards till we hit the other number. They can also, when they pick the 2 numbers, you're going to have to determine together which one's bigger, which one's going to be our start number. All right, I went through that pretty fast, but hopefully that helped you out. And let me know if you have any questions. All right, bye.